Hey, you guys. So today on the show, I'll be sitting down with Melissa Atkinson, who is an Army veteran, a culture architect, and the host of the podcast, Hardwig Soft Life, which actually just broke ground with being the top 50 self improvement podcast on Good Pods. We're going to be talking about her entire story, which is amazing, all the things that she went through, um being arrested and had to start over from ground zero and build her brand, her events brand, being a realtor, building her podcast, and what it means to truly show up despite all the mess, to keep going and to inspire someone else as well, another creative entrepreneur, just another entrepreneur in general. So we're gonna get right into it. But before we start, do me one favor. If you're listening to this and you haven't subscribed yet to the show, please hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Please subscribe as well. And then once you're done, let us know what you guys think of the show. If we need to bring Melissa back on, what was your biggest takeaway? But let's dive into it. Let's go. Melissa. Oh, it's like, look at her face. Like her face just lit up right when I just say Melissa. But listen, like, welcome to the show. Man, like we met recently and I've been following you on Instagram before and I was like, oh, I like this girl. I like her branding. Your branding was what caught my attention. And I
Okay,
was like,
thank you.
I love this. And we finally connected and just hearing a little bit about your story and stuff. I'm like, okay, you know what? Let's just bring it on the podcast. Let's just talk about it. And especially you breaking down your story. So, but welcome to
Thank you.
Legacy Talk with Keleisha.
Thank you so much, Keleisha, for the introduction. First of all, I need you to know that the feeling is very mutual. Okay, when I was like, "Oh my God, who's this girl? Oh, she's lit," and then I saw like the silk suits, and I was like, "Oh, it's giving dynasty, it's giving royalty." And just you as a person, like when you meet someone in person, and then you're like, "Wow, you're even cooler in person than what I
Oh,
thought you were gonna be." So it is an honor to be here on Legacy Talks.
thank you, girl. Thank you, girl. Now I know a little bit. I'm gonna even like before I even kind of actually my personal questions. And I was telling you earlier that I usually have an outline and I tend not to stick to the outline. Who's Melissa? What's the
Oh,
story there?
who is Melissa? There's a hell of a story, honestly. So what I define myself as now is kind of a cultural architect, a person
Mm-hmm.
who is always busy building. Whether that means I am building up my voice on my own podcast, building rooms for people like myself to connect in, building, helping people build their dreams even by like my real estate career as well. So I would call myself a builder, but before I got to this point, I think I was a person that my mom says this all the time. She's like, "You're like a person that makes something with your hands and then you ruin
Ah.
it with your feet." Um, I say that to say like the process of getting here, and the story's not even done yet, but the process of getting
Getting
here
here, yeah.
was never a linear process. And so,
Mm.
yeah, I'm a little bit unorthodox, but overall, I'm a builder.
But that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you you at the end of the day.
Thank you.
Oh man. So I know like you do the intersection. That's how
Yes.
I think I even discovered you too on like found you on Instagram. And like before the podcast and everything, you were in the army, right? Like what do you think like that? See, first of all, why did you go into the army? That's the first thing. And like what did like that entire season of you being in the army like teach you how to show like how you show up and build right now in your business and your brand and just you?
So I joined the army out of pure necessity. I wish I
Mhm.
had a
A
virtuous
lot of
reason,
people.
like I wanted to save the country. But it was definitely out of necessity. So I grew up in a single parent household. I have a younger brother who's 6 years younger than me.
Hmm.
Um, he just turned 29 a few
Ooh.
weeks ago. Yeah, so Anthony is 29, and my mom was single, and so by the time I turned 18, I actually was already taking on responsibilities that were not necessarily mine, in the household.
Mhm.
Um, and I started working a corporate job immediately. Like I had no college degree or anything. I actually started working at Tampa General Hospital. And then my first job in the hospital was at the McDonald's in the hospital that used to be there.
Oh,
So there. Yeah, it's so contradictory. Like it's like
yeah, McDonald's in the hospital.
they had like this crazy deal with the Casper company, and they were just going to be locked in for life. But they ended up, I think they removed the McDonald's. It might still be there. I don't know. I haven't been to
Yes.
Tampa General in years,
Have a
but
big.
have not. And I started there in 2010, and I worked at the hospital for 6 years, and I moved my way through the hospital, like networking, even before I knew what that meant, was like
Yeah.
a very big deal. And so I started off in the McDonald's. Then I started off as a transporter in the hospital, pushing patients. Then I went from transport and I worked my way into something called the Service Response Center, which is almost like the internal operator, but also you put in work orders if something is broken within the
Broken.
hospital and
Mm.
designate it out to delegate it to the different departments.
Yeah.
Then I started working in registration by age 20. And then when I was 21, is when I joined the military in the Army National Guard. So you're basically a part time civilian, you're a part time soldier, full time civilian. And
Oh.
so we needed the money, and I couldn't think of what to do to make money.
Mm.
Maybe I'm going to go be like a stripper or something. That could be fun. I don't know if I can say that out loud, but I was going to go be a midnight ballerina, to choose a
A
funny
midnight ballerina.
ballerina. And a few of my friends actually talked me out of it. They were like, "No, I don't think that's a good move for you. We support the naked hustle, but Melissa, maybe there's something else you can do. You can think of something else."
Yeah.
What? I'm going to join the military. And I took the ASVAB and I said, whoever calls me first is where I'm going. The guard called me, and I was never had heard of the National
The
Guard.
guard.
I
Yeah.
didn't understand the concept. I thought military was you just do the military and that's it.
Hmm.
So I jumped at that opportunity, and since we needed the money like yesterday, I kind of took whatever job.
Came
Um,
up.
yes, luckily I did have a good MOS. I did have a good ASVAB score, so I
Hmm.
ended up with what we call our job is an MOS 25 uniform, and it is now it's kind of an IT position, but they call us the signal corps. Anybody that has the number 25 before the letter of whatever their job is uh is 25 series, and 25
Yeah.
series is signal, which means
Oh.
connect you. So like if you need satellites, to connect to like internet or whatever, we set up the satellites, we set up your cables, we then go and set up your computers before we go on to any like tactical missions and stuff like that. And so since I'm a 25 uniform, which is signal support system specialist, it means that I am a master, a jack of all trades, master of none. I actually can do everyone's job
Job.
and help them out. But if no one needs help, then I can be the front desk person and just take in the orders in the queue for what needs to be fixed. So
That is
that was
interesting.
yeah, yeah. So that was the job. And it's funny because a lot of people ask me, well, how did you end up in the army? And I said out of necessity. But when
Yeah.
I came back to my civilian life at Tampa General, there was an opening in human resources, and I had wanted to work in HR since I started at the hospital. I didn't know what they did. I just knew that they wore fancy outfits and they had their own bathroom in their office, and I wanted to be a part of that.
Wait, did you have a background in HR?
No, no, I had nothing. I had only
Interesting.
been working in the hospital at that point, moving my way up from McDonald's through all these departments. So it was just an HR clerk position. I worked at the front desk
Wow.
of human resources, and that is how I got my start in that industry because I went on to continue working in HR. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember the last person who asked me like about the army and like what I'm doing for work. It was funny. It was a job interview, and it was the interview for getting into that position. She was an old
Wow.
school kind of lady, and she asked me, "Okay, well, your job is IT in the military. There's an IT department. What does IT have to do with
To do with
HR?"
HR.
And this is before we had this is before like Workday, before Oracle, before all of this Paylocity, before HR was actually digitized. This is
Yeah.
back in 2013.
Wow.
And so I'm very young in 2013. I think I'm 22 at this point. And I didn't know that everything was going to become digital, right? But I was like, oh, I don't know, maybe one day this will be
Mm-hmm.
electronic, and then my skills will make sense. But I want to work with humans, not things. So, and that's how I got started. But yeah,
That's insane. And it kind of like listening to you, you're like this whole like you knew like you wanted to work with things and humans and like
yeah,
what you do now, like you call yourself the culture architect, right? You build stuff. You like to be super hands-on. What do you think, like what, like with you being in the military, right? Like what has it taught you that you now implement in your brand now, in your event with the intersection? Like what would you say is that one thing?
definitely discipline. And I would say
Mm,
that I already, my mom is from a third world country,
yeah.
and I know that, like when you come from a different ethnic background, they don't play. There is no
Hmm.
room for error.
Yeah.
And, you're told, I always tell people, if you're the child of an immigrant kid, you're going to be reminded at least 20 times a day what your parent did not come to this country for.
Mhm. Where did
Um,
they come from?
so both of my parents are from Honduras. They're from
Oh.
Honduras, so Central America. And, my mom was quick to be like, Melissa, I didn't come to this country. Like, oh, I could be sitting doing
Yeah.
nothing,
Yeah.
breathing, and she would
Hmm.
on me. She would be like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Nothing. I didn't come here for you to do nothing." And you're like, "Whoa!" So I eventually, it's a joke now. I always ask her, "What did you come to do in this country then?" Because you're not doing a lot. But I would say I already went in with a very disciplinary um, mindset,
Mindset.
and I think that it did strengthen my mindset because it is an experience that I think I wish everyone had,
Hmm.
honestly, especially the youth of today.
Ooh.
It does show you, like, hey, come hell or high water, whatever it is that you got to do, it just has to get done. Like, you
Yeah.
can cry about it, you can stomp about it, you can do whatever, but you have to keep going. It
Hmm.
has to get done. And so
Mm.
I think that's a really big thing that
Big
I
thing.
have. Yeah, when I'm doing something, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna cry. I've cried on this carpet before. Like, I've got, slid down the wall and cried on the floor, but it's gonna get done.
But it's gonna get done. Let it out. Cry,
Mhm.
let it out. Pick yourself back up and keep going.
Yes.
Oh my God. So tell us about the intersection. Where did that name come from? What's the concept behind it?
So the intersection. So let me back up. So I started my podcast, and my
Hmm.
podcast was like basically my love letter to life, almost. Like, I'm
Okay.
so grateful for where I am now. And you would never guess from where I came from, with all of these things. But it started off with me wanting to do a live podcast episode. That was it.
Mm.
It was a very simple idea. I said, I could just make an event of this, just me interviewing someone. And I have a lot of really cool friends who do a lot of cool things, yourself included. I'm like, you're someone who I think does like the coolest things, and they're successful. And it just started to be really hard to pinpoint, well, who would I do this with actually?
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that I can choose from. And if I did it once, then maybe I could do it again. But
Hmm.
hmm, maybe I should have a few panels. And then I
Right.
was like, okay, well, if we're gonna have panels, how long is the event gonna be? What are we gonna talk about? And I started like just dividing conversations. I started with the conversations that I wanted to have first. And
Mm.
then I started thinking about the people I know, because you don't know who you know until you sit down and look through your phone contacts list,
Yes.
right?
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. You're like, it's so easy to forget sometimes that some of your friends are a big deal. Everyone's a big deal, but
Everyone.
it's easy to just, oh yeah, that's just such and such.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, like such and such is Emmy nominated. Like, that's a real accomplishment.
Yes.
So I started it that way, and then I just kept doing a lot of interviews and a lot of content, and I noticed that there was a word I kept using. I
Hmm.
kept saying to everyone, I am at the intersection of creativity, wellness, and tech. But personally, I'm at the intersection of three marginalized groups. I'm Black, Latina, and I'm woman.
Yeah.
That word intersection just kept coming up.
Mm.
And I just kept hearing people say, I'm at the intersection of this. I live at the intersection of that. I work in the intersection of, whatever industry. And I realized everyone is at an intersection in life.
Life, yeah.
Your intersection might not be the same one as mine, but somewhere we will cross paths, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Ooh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's where it came from, just right there. And I was like, you know what? The intersection is sounds cool. It's catchy. It's
It
not hard
is
to
catchy.
explain. And I went
But
from
you
there.
can see the story there too and the connection.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
It
oh
wasn't
my
like
God.
thought up. Some people are like, I'm gonna throw an event. Okay, what am I gonna call it? What am I gonna call it?
Mm-hmm.
No, it was just like a progression of, I could make this an event. And I think I really started thinking about it last year during the time of Essence Fest, because I wanted to go to Essence Fest so bad. I've never been.
Oh,
I
I've
wanted
heard
to be
good things about
invited.
it.
Girl, I want to go so bad. And I was almost invited. I was invited this year and I ended up not doing it. It didn't
Didn't it?
all align or come into place the way
Mm.
it should. I don't believe in forcing things, but I was like, wow, there's no like creative entrepreneurial events in Tampa, Florida, or in the Southeast region for that matter. Everyone flies to go somewhere.
You're
So
so
I
right.
started moving to that, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so it's so crazy because not even crazy. Not, I had two questions
Hmm.
because you said it where I moved to Tampa and there's not many creative events,
Correct.
right? It's usually if it's business related or sports related or real estate related. But for me, I saw that event and I was like, okay, usually there's a stigma with creatives. Whenever there's event, it's either not executed properly, there's no goal behind it, like it's just all over the place, right? But when I saw from the pictures and the videos and other persons posted, I was like, this looks like a well curated event. There was intention behind it from the conversations, and then you could see the feedback from the comments from other creatives that were there in that moment of being at that event. Like, what did you feel, first of all? And like, was your intention like, you know what, I want to build community, or is just going to have this event and be one and done?
Um, I that's actually a really good question. I don't think anyone's really asked me that. But during the event, I did have a moment where I got to sit for a second. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny, I looked down at my nails because the nails that
She
I
said, I
have,
looked down on my nails.
I looked down, listen, my nails are always like, I have a lot going on. But I looked down at my nails and at the design that I had on them, and I was just like, like, this is cool, right? Like, this is
Mhm.
cool. I looked at my outfit and I'm like, yeah, and I put this together too. And then I looked around the room
Your room.
and I was like, wow, I
Wow.
really put this together from my brain. Like that
Mm-hmm.
is insane. Like I must be actually a psychopath. Like because in 5 months, like that is crazy. But I don't think it really dawned on me the effect until maybe the end of it
Mm-hmm.
because you're on go. You're go,
Yeah.
go, 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 go. And then I think 2 weeks before or a week before your event, you hit a Zen mode. And the
Mm-hmm.
Zen mode is kind of like, it's going to be what it's going to
Okay.
be at this
Yeah.
point. Like, I'm scared, but I've done everything that I
Everything
can
that
do,
you can.
yeah,
Yes.
to make sure that
Oh.
this is a good event. And so I knew that I wanted it to be an inaugural event. Like that was my
Mm-hmm.
goal from the start. All my pitch decks from the beginning told all my sponsors and anybody who wanted to have a relationship with the intersection that we would look forward to doing this yearly. So it was already in my plan. It was just a matter of when it's the first one, you have to execute it really, really well.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. The
Yeah.
pressure. The pressure is real for the first
Yes.
one. Oh. So even like with that, like what problem like do you think that event solved in the creative space for creative entrepreneurs?
I think it solves and beyond creative entrepreneurs, right? Because it's geared toward us. I say us because I consider myself to be a creative
Definitely.
entrepreneur as well.
Yeah.
But it's geared toward us, but it's not, that doesn't have to be everyone, right? I think
Mm-hmm.
it's more so for people who feel sort of out of place. So as a person who is deeply creative, I've always worked in corporate America. I've always worked in corporate settings. And even as a realtor, there's that thing of you have to make being a realtor like your personality trait.
Personality.
Yes, and you have to walk
Yeah.
around wearing the blazer and that I'm going to sell a house, and and that's just that's what's expected of you. So I
Yeah.
started going to networking events more when I got my realtor's license, because at this point now I have to network with people for work, for business. And I would go to a lot of events and they were great. But for me, I never felt like I quite fit in, because I'm like, yeah, I'm just not as businessy as everyone in here. Um, I'm more creative. And then I'd go to creative events, and those events always missed the mark for me, because I'd be like, these are not serious people. Um, so I would go to all of these networking events as a realtor, and I just felt
Yeah.
like it was way too stuffy. And then I would go to creative events, and I would feel kind of at home with my fellow
Hmm.
creatives, right? But these were also certain circles that I kind of was like, okay, well, maybe I don't feel like this is a very serious event, right? Or maybe I've
Ah,
aged out of like this sort of creative event.
creative event. Yeah.
Yes, like, when I was in my 20s, I was very much like a hipster kind of like, and just
Go
in
with the
that kind
flow
of,
type of thing.
kind of like an underground rap, like hipster girl. Like I wore the satchel, I was lighting incense. I'm like going to St. Pete to all these artsy events,
Okay.
like stuff like that. I only listen to like Kendrick Lamar, and
More
it's like very, very like that. And so I would feel like, wow, there aren't any artsy events that I feel I can learn, that I
from.
resonate with, actually.
Yeah.
So what can I do? Like, and then I started thinking about the industry, because, like I said, Essence Fest was occurring roughly around the time the idea popped in my mind. And I was like, wow, people fly to Essence Fest. People go to CultureCon. What do we do here in the
Yeah.
Southeast?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when I
Hmm.
decided to marry the two ideas. And when I called it the intersection, it was like, hey, this is for people who feel like they have to negotiate which them walks into a room when they walk into a room.
Oh, tell me, go deeper into that. When you say negotiate, what do you mean?
So, you know how I told you, like, I'm at the intersection of three kind of like industries, right?
Yeah.
So there were some times that I would go in and I'd be Melissa the realtor,
Mm-hmm.
because this is an event for real estate
Yeah.
professionals, right? Or just an entrepreneurial event. And I didn't take I didn't take my podcasting, I didn't take it seriously because I didn't think anybody else took it seriously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I never felt, in the beginning, I didn't feel comfortable telling people, oh, I'm a
About it.
podcast host. Yes, because coming from the background I have, right? That's not a real job to my
Yeah.
parents. My mom is like, so you
Be a
talk?
doctor or a lawyer. Go.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
mom's like, so you talk and people just listen? That's not a job, So because it was so indoctrinated into my mind, I would go to these entrepreneurial events and then be like, oh, I'm a realtor, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
who I said I was going to be. And then sometimes I'd go to creative events and I'd say, I'm a podcast host. And then even certain spaces, right? Like as an Afro Latin woman, I do identify as Black and as Latina. And
Yeah.
so when you go into a more Latino space, you're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to blend in and be more
Brendan.
Latino vibes, right?
You're adjusting.
Correct. It's
Yes.
code switching a lot of the time, but
Yes.
for me it felt like I'm negotiating which Melissa gets to show
Mm-hmm.
up in each room. And why can I not just have a space where I'm just, it is what it is. I'm
You. Yeah.
everything. And there are a lot of people I feel like that are feeling like that, they
Yeah.
feel like, oh, this is to this or I'm to that. So I really wanted to create a space where everyone could just be their full self, and we celebrate that. Like,
Be.
everyone
Mm-hmm.
asks me, what is the dress code? So whatever you feel comfortable in, that makes you feel the flyest,
Right, yeah.
is what I want to wear.
Oh, yeah. It's no business casual, formal. I love that.
Yeah.
Whatever makes you feel the flyest.
Yeah.
Ah, that's a description. Because my next question was, but you answered it. Is like for anyone who hear about intersection, like like what should they expect? When they walked into that room and walk into that event. But you just covered one. What would be two other things you think that person, like apart from the dress code and being themselves, what would you want them to get from your event, especially when you do the next event?
my goal is always for people to walk out of anything that I put together a few inches taller, feeling a few inches taller than when they walked in.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, in 2025, early 2025, I went to an event that a friend of mine put together. And it was the first time that I was on a panel, and
Hmm.
it was called Creators Escape. So shout out to Justin's story. It was a
Mm.
phenomenal event. And I came out of that event with new connections that I'd made. And some of these people are still my friends, that we like, I've had them at my house, like flew them in, have had them in my house, like that kind of friendship.
French.
A
Yeah.
few of them were part of the intersection. A few of them were on my podcast after that. Not only did I make genuine connections, everyone in there was working in whatever industry or whatever craft they were in at a very high level. So
Hmm.
it then motivated me to, I came back home and I said, I'm going to take my podcast serious. Like, everyone was like, you have the voice for it, you have a
Yeah.
certain look, people like you,
The
why are you so
personality.
embarrassed? Yeah,
Yeah.
why are you
Yeah.
embarrassed about this? And I said, you're right, I'm going to do it for real. Like, I don't
Hmm.
care what anybody has to say. And I want people to have that feeling, because if I had not gone to that event and experienced that experience,
Hmm.
I was already planning to silently quit my podcast. I was already like, I can't do
Wow.
this. I don't know. And it has taken me other places, right? It has opened up other opportunities. So the whole, I wanted people to walk away with genuine human connection. I
Hmm.
wanted them to walk away with a self confidence in whatever it is that they're working on, and audacity to go ahead and continue to work on
Continued.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh.
I see people connecting from the intersection. Like, there's so many like I'm doing an event, I think in a week and a half, where
Hmm.
I'm the moderator for the event. And like three or four of the people are connected because I put the intersection together.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's like a huge win because you had an idea, you saw that there was a need for something, and you executed on it despite not having it all figured out. You Let's talk a little bit about Hardwig Soft Life podcast, right?
Yeah.
The name itself, like when I heard that name, I was like, Hardwig Soft Life. First, I was like, Hardwig? Like, what? And then I kind of like did more research on the store and I was like, oh, I get the concept, but the name did what it was supposed to do. Like, I kept like questioning about it. But like, where did that name come from and why? You touched on it briefly, like how why you started. Like, when you decided to be like, I'm gonna do this thing, like what's the end goal of it, or what's the story, like why, one, the name, and two, what's it about?
So the name, so I lived
Hardware
a
Soft
very
Life.
hard life, right? Like, I lived a very tough life. And I tell anyone, anything that you can imagine happened to you. It happened to me once, and then like we turned back around and then we did it again. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I lived a very, so my upbringing, my mom, love her down, but she is from a third world country. So the manner in which you're brought up is different to a lot of your
Yeah.
peers. It's a lot more aggressive. It's a lot more, and it's because of that we came to this country for better opportunities for our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna be very hard on you.
Yeah.
And then you, like, I also, I became a felon sometime in my mid 20s because I got into a car accident that was my fault. And so, and I felt like that was my ultimate failure. I was like 23 years old, going on 24 when I got into the car accident. I split the bottom half
Mm-hmm.
of my face, and I ended up becoming a felon the because of how bad the car accident was. Typically, if it's a DU, and it was DUI related. So typically, if it's
Mm-hmm.
DUI related, it's a misdemeanor. But because I hurt someone else badly, it was a DUI with serious bodily injury. A lot of people will think that, like, oh, she was probably just partying or doing whatever. I actually went on a very strange first date, and it made me feel uncomfortable. So I decided to leave, and I got
Yeah.
into a car accident after that, and I got sent to the hospital where I worked in because it was Tampa General. and
Mm-hmm.
um and the cops came in. Nobody could tell that I wasn't like drunk per se. But I did have alcohol in my body, and they
Yeah.
did ask me, did you have anything to drink? And I said Yes, I was honest. I said, yes, I had 2 large glasses of wine. And so I would say that from that point moving forward up until I turned 30, my life was a very rough life. I already was living paycheck to paycheck before helping provide for my family. But at this point, I got my license suspended. Now you're a felon, so you can't find
Mhm.
places to like rent to live
Right.
in.
Yeah. And
Um,
jobs.
yeah. And then jobs, I was very lucky. That is the one area I was very fortunate in. I always kept a good job. But the problem is when you're living in a cycle of, okay, I need to Uber to get to work and I don't
Hmm.
have the money for it. I have to Uber to get to work, but then sometimes you're late also. And then if you're late, what happens? You get fired. Then if you get fired, you don't have the funds to pay your rent. And so
It's like
it's
a trigger.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I that is when I started experiencing a very rough life. Like there were moments where I didn't have a place to live, where I either was living in a hotel like across the street from wherever I worked, or I had to rent a room at someone's house, which is not fun at all.
Hmm.
There was a point where I lived like in a flea infested home. It was crazy. Um, or you don't have enough money to eat because you have to spend one paycheck for your bills and the other paycheck is for transportation to just get to work.
Yeah.
So there were a lot of times I didn't have to eat. I didn't have, just my life was very hard. And on top of that, I was on probation for those 5 years, actually. So
Ooh.
yeah, I was on probation for 5 years. And there's nothing more disheartening than you work a corporate job and
Hmm.
you have peers who look at you one way. And then once a month, you have to go to this place where there's a bunch of other criminals and offenders, and you don't know
And you
what
gotta
they
finish
did.
up.
And and that is your other group of peers,
Yeah.
right? And it's so disheartening because you're like, I'm trying to get ahead, and it's just this thing is just looming over me. And so when I met my husband, I was just outside of my probation time. Like I just finished probation, and I had gotten arrested twice while on probation because if you breathe,
Ooh.
I'm going to arrest you. Yeah, anything is a violation of probation. And so I had gotten arrested twice. I have like 3 mugshots, one from the original when I turned myself in for the accident, another time because of it was just like a whole thing about like moving. It was stuff that made no sense. Like if I sat down and told you why I got arrested the other 2 times, you would be like, "That really sucks, Melissa. That's terrible." And so I finished
Yikes.
probation, met my husband, and I was already like moving in a positive direction. Anyways, I was going back into corporate America from restaurant service because through COVID, that's what I did. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go back into HR. I'm going to save up money for my car. I got my license stated at that point, and met my husband. And I didn't know I was going to meet anyone of importance that day. And I had a weave that needed to be taken out of my head expeditiously. My husband is white. He's white. And there's a joke that say that well-to-do white men love a black woman with unkempt hair.
I've heard about
This is
that.
the Hardwig Soft Life theory. We went on a date 3 weeks later, but my weave was out, but I didn't have enough money to go get my hair done. So I showed up in a head wrap and like little baby hair swoops. And I had asked him, I said, "Do you mind if I show up in a head wrap? My hair's not done." He said, "I don't know what that means. Come as you are." When I tell you my husband he is definitely white. No idea what that meant. And I showed up to our first date. I was missing like 3 nails because I didn't get my nails done either. I was missing 3 nails and I had a head wrap and we hit it off and we're married. And so we fast forward a few years later,
Wow.
I'm scrolling on TikTok and I see Hardwig Soft Life theory. And I see all these girls talking about trying to find a rich white man. My husband's not rich, but he does well. And I thought, oh my God, this is hilarious. And then I thought about my life and I said, trusted when I met my husband. There's some truth to this statement.
Oh my
But
god.
beyond the theory, it's kind of like a metaphor almost, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people feel like when you have a hard wig, it means you went through something. And because it's like, girl, what happened to your hair? Like you look like you're going through
Mhm.
something. It means that you
Yeah.
went through something. And a lot of time people who have gone through things that can be deemed traumatic or very difficult, you begin to feel like you don't deserve the soft life. And so I
Mm.
felt like just even that juxtaposition of two different ideas put together, it meant something. So even if
Yeah.
it's not your actual hair, literally, figuratively, Hardwig. Soft Life.
Soft life.
And Ryan suggested the name.
Oh, listen, like that, it makes so much sense. Like the entire connection and tying back into the brand, the intersection. Oh my God, that makes so much sense. So let's pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
So you also went from, so you moved from podcasts and then you even from being like a podcast host and you co-anchor the PNX alongside like Les Brown and Bishop Dale Bronner and stuff like that. Um, when you did that, right? What changed in the way how people saw you and how you saw yourself?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think honest, and it's funny because that was my first hosting gig. That was
Wow.
my, yeah. I'd never. I hosted
Wait, how
so
did you even land that?
many. Oh, you remember that event I told you about that my friend put together,
Hmm.
Creators Escape. So
Yes.
there was a man there named Delano A. Johnson. Shout out Delano A. Johnson. He's awesome. And I kept in contact with him because he's the first person that encouraged me to continue my podcast there from the event.
Mm,
He was like, "You have something special. Like you got to keep going."
yeah.
And so I have the utmost respect for him. And I went to Atlanta at the end of last year. So this all of this stuff happened within a very short time frame. February 2025 is when I met this person, Delano A. Johnson. And then
Hmm.
in August of 2025, I was already rebooting my podcast and doing interviews. And he said, "Hey, have you ever heard of the Power Networking Conference, Melissa?" And I said, "No," because I was like, "No, I don't know." And he's like, "Do you know who Dr. George C. Fraser is?" And I was like, "No, I have no idea who that man is." And he was like, "Okay, he puts on this event every year." Now, everybody in Atlanta, no shade to Atlanta, but this is true. They make everything sound like it's a huge deal, right? So
That is true.
I'm like taking this with a grain of salt. I'm like,
Grain of salt.
okay. Now, mind you, Delano A. Johnson is a Grammy nominated person. He has a best selling author. Like, he's a multi hyphenate, like multifaceted, and very talented at everything he does.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, yeah, like what about this event? And he's like, yeah, like we're looking for people to be on the panel. And I said, I'd love to be on a panel. Like, that'd be great. I'm so down. I don't hear anything from him until I don't hear anything from him. And then I said, you know what? I gave them my bio and my picture. Let me just Google, just
Follow
see
up.
where
Yeah.
we are with this event. Yeah. I Googled the event and I find the website and I see Les Brown. I see all these people. Um, John Hope Bryant. And I'm like, what in the world? This is a big deal. And then
Hmm.
I see Master of Ceremony, me.
Master.
And I said, that's a weird way to say I'm a panelist. And Ryan, bless my husband's heart, bless my heart actually. He goes, Melissa, you're the host with someone else, but you're the
For the
host. You're not
host.
the panel. And I said, no, there's no way. I've never hosted anything. I don't know how to do that. And that is how that happened. It just kind of fell into my
Wow.
lap out the sky, based off of a connection. And for me, I think I was very nervous walking into that
Hmm.
room because these are people of a very high status, and even
That
the
is, yeah.
guests there are. I mean, the cheapest ticket was probably 1,000. So you're in a room full of movers and shakers, and I want to say,
Shakers, yeah.
yeah. And it made me. After that, I was like, I'm not really interested in doing things for free unless I believe in them.
Hmm.
Because if I can make it here, then that means I do have something special for sure.
Yeah.
And people
Hmm.
around me were like, how did that happen?
Oh,
I'm like,
I
I don't
love that.
know. Like,
Yeah. That's a great way to put things into perspective
hmm
in terms of if you can be there. And because a lot of times what I'm trying to say is that a lot of times persons are afraid to charge,
yeah.
or they don't know their worth for certain things, or I'm not qualified enough for
hmm
certain things. And for you, you're like, if I was chosen to be in that moment with those movers and shakers, and you want me to be somewhere else and you don't want to compensate me or give me what I want in return, no.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I'm assuming now, like, it changed how you do things with how you show up for your brand, for yourself, whether you're hosting, whether you're speaking. So I really do love that as well. Um, Bro, you met Les Brown.
I had a full circle story moment with him. I have Les Brown's phone number. Like I call Les Brown.
Dangerous.
So let me tell you, in 2019, I was in an abusive relationship, right? He was a terrible person. This guy was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And he used to say that he was a motivational speaker. I don't know who he was motivating, but he was that was like his dream. I'm gonna be a motivational speaker. He loved Les Brown. I didn't know who Les Brown was before this guy was in my life. And so he would always send me videos of Les Brown. And then he would always tell me that I wasn't going to amount to anything because I don't know how to change my mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Which, mind you, I just told you I was living a very, very hard life in my 20s. So, like, I mean, it's not about change. It is about changing mindset, right? But also, like, I'm dealing with more than everybody else around me. So there's
Yeah.
that. And it got to the point where I really couldn't stand the Les Brown videos because this guy was the guy that I was dating was such a terrible person that I just
Mm-hmm.
associated even Les Brown's voice
That's right.
with him.
Mm.
So when I got the opportunity to meet him, I told him, I have a full circle story moment for you. I said, do you know 5 years ago, I was basically getting beat up, like mentally and physically, by this person who's terrible of a human being, who's a big fan of you. I go, and I explained the whole story just like I explained it to you. And he said, first of all, he said, I really like your voice. And I go, thank you. I'm like, that is such a big compliment, from
Yeah.
the number one
Number one.
motivational speaker. Yeah, like he was like, I like your voice. Thank you. He said, and you have quite a story. And I said, oh, that's not all the story.
Mm-hmm.
I got plenty. I got a backpack full of them. And he goes, well, we're going to take a picture now. And then he said, let me get your phone number. Let's exchange info.
Wow.
So
Wow.
since then, I've run into him again. And I've talked to him quite a bit. Like I can call him up and say, hey, how you doing, Les? And hey, Melissa, how are you? And yeah,
That's like,
it's
as
crazy.
you said, that is a full story, full circle moment. Crazy as well. Some people would think that it is just luck as well. And then I would say too, like, you've hosted such a big event, right? You've also done your own event as well. Like, what would you say to someone who is trying to either build their own event or community? What's the
There was no vision behind that, right? I just wanted to
Mhm.
be popular for singing or
For
for
things?
being me.
Yeah.
And then I got to high school and I said, I like newspaper and yearbook. I want to be a journalist. I want to work for a magazine. At that time, I would have worked for a magazine. And then things changed and you said, okay, I want to be like an influencer or content creator, but I don't know how. But there was no mission or vision
Richard
behind it.
Bandit, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a
Mhm.
beauty guru. I'm not like a hair expert. I'm not a makeup expert. I'm good at these things, but this is
Yeah.
not something that I can make my livelihood. What do I do? And then I thought to myself, one day when I reach a point of triumph, maybe I'll share the story of my life because it's
Mhm.
insane. And I got to the
But
place
you
of
are
triumph
sharing.
and I shared it.
Yeah.
And that's where everything went. But yeah, don't rush the process. Like it's not a forced thing. And then once you figure out what your vision and mission is, stick to it. It
Yeah.
might evolve over time, because anything evolves, but stick to it and execute. And do not let imposter syndrome happen to you.
Say that again for the
Do
people
not let
back.
imposter syndrome take over. Not at all.
Listen, because, and you said it too, I think sometimes we go through things and we think, okay, it's not time to share it yet, but you've gone through so much, have learned so much. And then sometimes we can block our own blessing because we don't even share the journey so far. We're waiting for the perfect story, the perfect time to be like, okay, I'm going to write a book. But then you've gone through so much that you can be an inspiration to somebody else. You can inspire somebody else. Even with all of that, like even before I go into this question, I can relate to you so much because when I moved to the States, I was so afraid to share my story that I gave up my perfect job to go clean tables and toilets. I felt so embarrassed to talk about it because I'm like, what are people going to think about me? I didn't share that on the internet and I shared the good stuff as well. But I think it was until I did a podcast interview with on Bigger Pockets. And that's how I got into the real estate space. It was the biggest real estate podcast ever. And when I shared my story and the interview was like, oh my gosh, you need to share your story more. I was like, no, I think everyone can do that. They're like, No. Share your story. The doors that opened when I shared my story, oh my gosh, I could not believe it. So thank you for sharing your story, because people will see you now and don't even understand like all the things that you had to go through to get you to where you're at now, which kind of be like with everything that you've gone through, like what would you say is like one thing that you had to unlearn?
A lot of things. A lot of things. A
She's
lot of
like
things
a
to do on learning. Girl, do you have time? Like,
because I know there is so many things, especially having immigrant parents, like we were taught different things. And then when you grow into the person that you are and you've gone through certain things that you have gone through, you have to, there's a lot of unlearning that has to be done.
yeah. I think
Oh.
a major thing that I've learned is so I'm a very giving person, and
Hmm.
sometimes almost to a fault. I will give somebody my last and have nothing and just do it, right?
Yeah.
And I always thought that in order to be loved or
Hmm.
appreciated, that you needed to give all the time.
Mm.
And not just like material, tangible things, but
Yeah.
to pour into other people so much. But the problem is if you have an empty cup, you have nothing to pour from, right? There's nothing there. And so something that I've learned along the way is sometimes being selfish is the most selfless thing that you
Mm.
can do. Because everything around me cannot operate the way that it needs to unless I'm at 100%. And
Yeah.
sometimes I need to say, hey, I can't keep running, running, running for everybody.
Mhm.
I need to get 100%.
Oh.
So yeah,
Oh my gosh, that is, oh my God. That's all I
I'm gonna
can
tell
say.
you one more. You got
Yeah,
one more. And
because
this
that is good.
I cannot take credit for this one, but this is the mantra, like this is the thing that I've held closest to my chest throughout my entire creative journey thus far. And it is when when you get a calling from up above or wherever you
Mhm.
get your calling, when you get a calling, that call is not for everyone to understand. This is not a
Ooh.
conference. It's your call.
Mhm.
It's for you to understand. So
Yeah.
you have that idea and you're like, I'm going to execute that idea. It's not for your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your spouse. It's not for them to get it.
Yeah.
And if they don't get it, like, that's okay. I still got to execute it because that's
Mhm.
my calling. So,
Yeah. Oh, man. Oh my gosh. I feel like I could dissect and we could go so much deeper into it. But like I know that you and you've said it, like the arrests, you've also had like other hardships that you went through. And a lot of people mentally would be like, that's it. I'm done. Like this is rock bottom. This is what it feels like. Like at what point would you say was your breaking point where did you feel like even giving up? Like, cause explain everything, it may sound like, you know what, I went through this. I did not want to give up. I just kept going. But did you feel like there was a time that you hit rock bottom and you really did not want to continue to like get out of it?
when I turned 30, when I
Hmm.
turned 30, I sat in my apartment. It was a studio that is probably the same size as my bedroom now on it. It was like 400 something square feet. And I was so sad because I said, oh my God, this is a milestone birthday. I'm 30.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm off probation, but like I don't have a car. I'm a server right now because of COVID, but I'm a server right now living off of tips. I live in this apartment. I don't have any quality prospects of like men, looking for me, right? Like the ones that are around looking for me are probably not the most savory people.
Hmm.
And I thought to myself, you know what? I guess this is just what my life looks like. Like this
Hmm.
is it's like I wake up every day and I try really hard and I don't see that much change, but I guess that's it. And
Yeah.
that was like it wasn't like I'm just gonna lay here and die, but it was a moment of like, okay, well, this is as good as it's gonna
Mhm.
get.
Mm. Mm. So how did you get out of that?
Honestly, I mean, I met my husband 2 weeks after my birthday, my 30th
Ooh.
birthday, 2 weeks after, and I I really didn't wanna date. I
Mhm.
was like, "I'm gonna have a hot girl summer, whatever hot girl summer that I can
Summary.
have." Yes, girl, I thought I was gonna have a hot girl summer, and, I didn't wanna date. I was like, "You know what? I'm gonna just save money for my car. I'm gonna focus on myself and do all the things," and I met him, and he came into my life as such a positive force, I think, at a time that I the most. Because you start to look at someone, you say, okay, if this person has the same 24 hours in a day and they can do so much and they're my age,
Yeah.
let me stop beating myself up a little bit. And I
Mhm.
think that's what kind of got me out of the rut.
Yeah.
Then I went back into corporate America very soon after we were dating. Got back into corporate America and said, okay, I'm going to try this again. Let's see if I like it or not.
Mhm.
Uh, Started working human resources, started making more money, was working a remote job. Like, okay, I started to feel more
Yeah.
motivated. And I
Yeah.
think like when you start getting little things here and there, you can feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
I used to always say, I just need one good thing to happen today.
Mhm.
Just one. And it could be someone say, I like your shirt. And
Yeah.
I'll be like, "Oh, I could keep
Oh,
going."
yeah.
And so
Uh-huh.
at 30, I felt like I'd given up. But then when I met my husband and I just started applying kind of like the same methods in his life that he applies, I started to feel better. I started drinking less. I started going out less. I used to go out as a form of like escapism on the weekends. Oh, I was a party girl. I was outside because my life Monday through Friday was so busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh
what am I gonna
my
do? I'm
God.
gonna go get obliterated. Like I'm gonna get wasted out of this world and dance on tables and escape or whatever. And I started to realize like, no, those are bad habits.
Mhm.
Doesn't drink nor does he.
Mhm.
So I stopped drinking as much. I stopped going out as much. I started exercising. I never used to
And
exercise.
you exercise a lot now.
I do. I do. I started exercising. I'm like, okay, like I feel the endorphins. I feel good. I feel motivated. And yeah,
Oh my
but
God.
led by example, and I think I needed somebody positive in my life. I
Yeah.
didn't have a positive example anywhere. I was muddling through everything.
Oh my God. See, that is like, would you say like when it comes on to even building your brand, because that also shows like you had a lot of resilience. Um, you just didn't you didn't give up. Like a lot of people would give up, especially like that's a lot mentally,
Mhm.
especially what you have gone through. You could have been like, that's it, and you could have spiraled out. That's what I'm trying
Yep,
to say, right? And you didn't. You didn't at all. And I'm a strong believer, like especially you meeting your husband 2 weeks after. That's not a coincidence,
I don't think
right?
so.
And I don't believe in that. It was supposed to happen with everything that you've gone through as well. I want to like pivot a little bit and talk about when it comes on to like long-term thinking, because we touch a little bit about vision and mission and all of that stuff. And with you being a realtor, you're a creative, you are an entrepreneur as well. You wear all the hats. Like what, when you're doing like, I would say pitch of who you are, someone is like, hey, who are you? And you're pitching your vision for your brand, what does that look like?
It's a really good question. So I recently met someone who told me, "Oh, I think I can help you with figuring out how to define what you do in a sentence." And I was like, I didn't
Rare.
really, yeah. I was like, I didn't really ask for you to help me figure it out.
Yeah.
It's gonna take more than one sentence to tell you a lot of things. But ultimately my goal and like my vision for what I see, this is gonna sound insane, but I'm gonna just say it. Like
Mhm.
I want to be a public figure. I would like
Mhm.
to be a personality public figure. I always tell people, you know, minus the sex tape.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind being like a Kim Kardashian type of person, right? Ultimately with more substance and depth.
Mhm.
I would be known as a business mogul. I'm not the best podcast host by far. I'm not the best event curator. I'm not the best at any of those things, but I am very good at them.
Yeah.
And I with purpose and intention. And so I want to be known for all of those things. I want people to know who Melissa L Atkinson is.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to know that all of the things that I do are pillars of things that I do. Like pillars of things that I am.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm a podcast host who talks about share stories of resilience,
Mm-hmm.
an event curator who brings human, genuine connection to people.
Together. Yeah.
I'm funny. Like I want to be goofy. I like all the things. Like it's just a whole deal. It's Melissa.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my goal
Oh,
though.
I love that. And I can agree with you. There's no one sentence to
Hmm.
put what you do. It's
Right.
going back to adjusting also in the room that you're in, and also like the type who you're talking to and assessing all of that. And with you being in so many different rooms, wearing all the hats, how do you make sure that you're always in alignment with what you're building, or that you're still making an impact and that you don't lose yourself through it all?
It's tough. It's tough because you can very easily get shiny object syndrome.
Syndrome, yeah.
Mhm. It's very tough. I think when you're first starting something, you feel like you need all the opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is an opportunity, and I have to be there for every single one of
Everybody,
them.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
cannot miss anything, right? And the more I've been doing this, it's been only, I mean, I became a founder just in this year, and a podcast host, it's been 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
But the longer that I've been in this sort of industry, I'm starting to realize like I don't have to be in everything, and I have to really hone in on the things that I'm most passionate about. And
Yeah.
so I think for me, like by order of importance, right, it's my events that I'm working on right now. And anything that it kind of correlates with that is something that I want to be a part of. And then my podcast hosting, and then after that, maybe just doing, appearances and other people's things. Um, and if it's not any of those three things, or I don't feel like it's a fit,
Yeah.
then I just, you have to get comfortable with saying no.
Mm.
It's hard because part of my brand is the fact that I'm a I'm a regular everyday person, right? And I'm
Gotta
very
show up.
friendly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when people are like, oh, I just know this can bring value and we should do this, we should collab. I used to have a hard time saying, I
No.
don't know, because then you don't want people to say, well, I met Melissa in person and she wasn't
Mm-hmm.
as cool as she
Cool.
is
Yes.
online. She's not nice. She said no. But I've learned you have to be comfortable because not only are you the brand, but you are,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and this is business. It's not personal.
Oh
So yeah,
my gosh. Outside of the intersection, because we're coming close to an end, but outside of the intersection and the podcast, like what fills your cup?
time with my family,
Ooh.
time with my
Mm.
family. I am everywhere. Every time I go somewhere, people go, Melissa, I've seen you everywhere. You were here, you were there, you were just in New York. When did you get back? Now you're at this event. You know, it's
Oh
yeah,
my
I have
gosh.
a crazy schedule, and it's just me, and I don't have a team yet. I'm hoping to one day get to that point,
Get to
but
that point.
yes, it's just me, and there might be a morning where I just flew from New York and I went to an event in the middle of the day and then I came home, showered. So what I'm most grateful for and what fills my cup is my me time and my time with
Mm-hmm.
my husband,
Oh.
because I'm not on. I'm just we're vibing, I get to recharge until the next escapades. But yeah.
She's to the next escapade. What would you say is like something that people assume about you, but they're completely wrong about it? They're wrong. They're
Girl,
wrong in that regard. Oh, she's like,
girl, people who have never heard my podcast, don't know anything about what my story is about.
yeah.
A lot of people underestimate me. They think, "Well, what is this girl here to talk about? Or what does she know? Or I
Mhm.
don't look like I come from a life of struggle. I don't sound like I come from a life of struggle." It just doesn't. So the misconception is that my life has always been very easy and that perhaps I'm just this young, pretty girl and everything got
Yeah.
handed to me. And then I tell people, no, I was in the army and I did this and I did that and I got it out the mud and then that happened and then this happened. Then I had to rebuild. And that is when people are like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
I've never thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because there's a polished package
Yeah.
now,
Mm-hmm.
No one, and I get that a lot. Some people actually will dislike me for no, like just on site, meet me and be like, "Ugh, I didn't like her." And then someone will say like, "Oh, like, do you know what Melissa does?" And then they'll explain it, and then they'll explain me, or that person will go back and look and be like,
Uh-huh.
I didn't
That's
know.
why they say don't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
Oh, listen. So we usually have something like to wrap up the episode, call it or legacy rounds, kind of like a rapid fire type of thing, right?
Okay.
So it's the first thing that comes to your mind. And the first one will be like, what's one principle that you will never compromise on, whether that's business or in life?
My vision.
Ooh, love
Yeah.
that. Most underrated quality when it comes on to, or skill when it comes on to building an event or community.
The ability to delegate.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. Biggest risk that you've took that actually paid off.
Oh wow. Yeah, setting the event date with no sponsors and like already like telling people, yeah, we're throwing an event. March 22nd.
The
Like
commitment, saying out loud, accountability.
accountability. Yeah.
I love it. A mistake that cost you and the lesson left behind.
Ooh, sometimes moving too quickly and not doing
Mhm.
enough research on what it is you're doing
Yeah.
and just executing. It's good to move quickly. It's good to execute, but it's also even better to be methodical and to be strategical
Strategic.
in
Oh.
life. Yeah. It's not always about speed.
Mhm. Oh, that's a good one. Being strategic. And then one word for or two, what legacy are you building?
Ooh, a lifelong legacy. I want my kids, and I mean, obviously generational wealth, all of that,
Mhm.
like that's a given, but lifelong legacy. I want everyone who knew me or who's related to me or who knows of me later on to have a sense of pride of
Yeah.
who I am and what I've done and to have had some sort of impact on people's life. So a lifelong legacy.
Oh my God, Melissa, thank you for being on here, sharing your story. How can persons connect with you? How can they follow you, reach out to you? What's the best way?
The best way to find me is at Melissa Laboriel on all social media platforms. Um, Melissa spelled the traditional way, Melissa. Laboriel is spelled like labor, Labor, ends in IEL. So Melissa Laboriel. And on my LinkedIn, I'm Melissa L Atkinson. So if you want to find me there, be more professional. And you can see my podcast or hear it on all platforms. So it's on YouTube, Prime, Spotify, and Apple. Did I say
Apple?
Apple? And Apple.
Up. Yeah.
Yes.
And
So
then
yeah,
we'll also drop that, guys, in the show notes and the description so that way you can click those links directly and connect with her. Um, amazing story. And I think that's why I wanted to have you on here because again, people see the finished product, the
mhm,
polished version, and they don't see the story and what you had to go through and overcome to get to where you're at. So thank you for opening up on the show today with the audience and can't wait to see what you continue to build at Intersection 2.0. And
it's
I want to
coming
wish
April
you let's go.
next year.
Oh, she said the date.
April next year.
So guys, make sure that you connect with her for the event. Again, go check out the last event that she did. Branding and everything was amazing. And just based on, I wasn't there, just based on what I saw, it was, you could see that it was a well executed event, right? But I want to wish you like all the best in all your endeavors. I know we're in the middle of the year. Keep crushing it, keep showing up, keep being you on and offline. And
Thank you.
thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I had the best time. I hope you have the best rest of your day, and I can't wait to watch this later and share it.
Let's go.